Everyone. Welcome to the Developing Medicines Through Open Science information session. My name is Dylan Roskams-Edris. I am the network lead for Conscience, and I've just got a couple of housekeeping notes right before we begin. Today, you're going to be hearing from 3 different speakers, and then we're going to open up the floor for questions. We won't be answering questions till the end, but if questions occur to you over the course of the information session, please feel free to put them in the chat. I'll be keeping track of them. If you would rather ask your question verbally, then when we open up for questions at the very end, please use the raise hand function, which you can access by mousing over the react button at the bottom of your screen. Unless you're asking a question, we please ask you to keep your microphone muted. And now, without further ado, I would like to invite our CEO, Ryan Merkely, to the stage.
Hey, folks. Good to meet you all, and thanks for joining us today. My name is Ryan Merkely. As Dylan said, I'm the CEO at Conscience. Before we jump into today's program, I wanted to talk very briefly about our mission and our focus. We're a young organization, a little over a year old, founded in collaboration with a partner organization, the Structural Genomics Consortium, who many of you probably already know. Conscience was established to explore ways to improve drug development where markets have failed, where people and families get left behind. In a perfect market, you would have a drug for every condition at a price everybody could afford in every region where those people needed access to it. And we all know that that market doesn't exist because even very effective markets still fail at the edges. And so for big parts of the market, competitive models work great. Drugs get developed and people, for the most part, can access them. There are issues around cost and access, but for the most part, people get the drugs that they need in a lot of the competitive market. But in other parts of that market, especially in areas like rare disease or pandemic preparedness or antimicrobial resistance, that's just not the case. And we've all seen that. So we know that in those spaces, funding can be much less available, investments are much harder to access, and intellectual property, which can usually in traditional markets be the thing that unlocks funding and progress, actually can become a barrier and not an asset. And so when competition is failing or causing us to struggle, we look at collaboration to free up ideas, to look for new ways to make discoveries together, and to access different kinds of resources, including collective sharing of resources, to see what we might be able to do together in those spaces where competition hasn't worked as well. So if you're sitting here thinking, my idea is perfect for private investment, and when we're successful, there's a strong business case for that drug, and my IP is going to reward me for that. If that's what you're thinking right now, you're probably in the wrong room. But if you're thinking, our work is so important, and I keep hearing from folks that we wish we had access to the funding we needed to do this work, but there are too few patients, or the industry isn't interested in my solutions, then maybe you're in the right place, and maybe there are things that we can do differently together. As an organization, we know that collaboration works, and I have spent my entire career working in communities where radical collaboration has built things that are bigger than any one person and any one organization. Those tools break down barriers, they open up possibilities, they improve efficiency when we work together, and some of the greatest things we've ever done as societies, we've chosen to do together. And I think these could be some of those things. So many people find out they have a rare disease, or their kid has a rare disease, or someone they love does, and they're told not only do they have this condition that perhaps they've never heard of, but also they're told there's nothing we can do. No one's working on it, and there may never be a drug for you or a treatment. And that's why at Conscience, and you'll see this in our logo, we think that together there's actually something that science can do if we work together. So with that, I really want to thank our team. I want to thank Dylan for hosting. I want to thank Anne and Resham for their leadership in designing this program. I'm going to introduce Anne Fortier, who's our VP of Drug Discovery, to talk more about this program. She has years of experience in this space, and we are thrilled to have her leading us, and she's going to be walking you through the program with Resham today.
Thank you, Ryan. I think that the introduction was well set up. I think that it's exactly why I joined Conscience after years in pharma. I really believe that a collaboration is able to achieve that, to achieve scientific breakthroughs and reduce those barriers in cost and risk in order to provide treatment for more people. So we are really excited to have this new opportunity. Let me first introduce just in more detail the philosophy behind this initiative, because it's quite different as most funding program, I think. So as Ryan said, the objective of developing medicine through open science is really to address the market failure in pharmaceutical industry. And what do we mean by this? Again, the current model, the investment go where the market is big, with the risk is a little bit lower, and this is to ensure large profit. Here we focus really on indications that are dismissed in this model, with either a smallest patient population or certain uncertain market. But this is not white or black for sure. So we will favor the proposal on disease with few ongoing effort rather than disease with already multiple competitive drug discovery program. I think that this is the important thing to understand. Oops, sorry about this. So again, and why do we believe that this can be done if by definition it's a market failure, so it has been unsuccessful, of course, is by doing it differently. Using open science, we believe that we can reduce those costs, put all the people working on the same problem together, so there is less silo, it's more efficient, and maybe this way those extraordinary things can happen. Now, is this program for you? Again, those are few lines. If you are here, probably you have read our program details. So are you working on a severe disease with high unmet medical need, with a market that may be too small, may not be suitable for a strong business case, but nonetheless, there is people there that need medical help? Are you working in the preclinical space toward an IND submission? So this is really a program for projects that are past target validation. So you probably have a hit. It can be early on, but still you do have a model or tractability or something to establish really a strong preclinical program. Do you work in a SME or in collaboration with a small or a medium company? Are you willing to create new ways? So do you think that it can be done with your current program, or do you need help in order to make it work with open science? And you also need complementary funding. As you will see in the description, we fund a third, and the rest should be matching fund. So maybe you don't answer yes to all those things now, and it's okay. I will really encourage you to do the letter of intent, and Resham will explain you a little bit later how it's pretty easy. And I think this is a way to start a discussion with you, and maybe we can help you find a collaborator, or maybe our in-house expert can help you apply those open science principles. So if you do, this is what's in for you. So of course, first, financial support. This is a 2-year funding up to 33% of the cost, and the maximum varies according to the technical readiness level, but it can go up to 1 million. And there is also additional funding. So we are in discussion with a lot of foundation, other agency, so establishing partnership, and we hope to help you provide this matching funds. For example, for participants from Quebec, we already, and Matthew is there from CQDM, we already have an agreement with CQDM that can provide up to 40% as well for this program. And secondly, guidance. We do have drug discovery and development experience. We do have expert in open science, policy and practices, project management experience as well. And we want to offer the opportunity for to find collaborator. So I hope that you will apply. Many of you will apply. I hope we will work together, and I will let Resham walk you through how the application and review process works.
Thank you, Anne. Hello, everyone, and welcome again. I'm Resham Chhabra, Program Manager for Drug Discovery and Development at Conscience, and I'll walk you through our application process. I'll just share my screen and start. Okay. I hope you all can see my screen. Okay, so our application process is very simple. It consists of two main phases, the letter of intent phase and full proposal. To begin, applicants must submit a letter of intent application using our online grants management system, the link to which can be found on our program webpage. The LOI application consists of a few preliminary questions and a one-page letter of intent for us to decide if your project is a good fit for the program, and the letter of intent should include your project objectives and relevance. All submitted LOIs will be reviewed and only a few selected ones will go to full proposal phase. The deadline for submitting your LOIs is September 27th, and as mentioned, it's a very easy application, so we would encourage you to apply and we can work together with you if anything needs to be modified. Now, if your application is selected for full proposal, then this will be a comprehensive application and will include things like project description, proof of matching funds, milestones, go-no-go criteria, and a couple more things. This will be evaluated by a panel of scientific reviewers, and the deadline for submitting your full proposal application will be November 22nd. So this is about the application process. Now, let's talk a little bit about the review criteria. So first, we will assess whether your project falls within the scope of our program, that is, if it addresses an unmet medical need. Second, in terms of scientific merit, we will mainly assess the robustness of the drug development plan and whether your timeline is feasible. We will also consider the quality of the team and research environment, meaning whether the team has the expertise to carry out the proposed research and if the research facility is adequate for the work. Coming to the matching funds, as Anne mentioned, Conscience will only fund up to a maximum of 33% of project cost. Therefore, in the full proposal application, you will be required to submit proof of matching funds. Now, this could be in the form of support letters or grant agreements, but please note for SMEs, at least 25% of matching funds should come from non-government sources. And again, I would like to highlight here, if you are from Quebec, then we have already sorted matching funds for you. So I would encourage you to take this opportunity and apply. More information about our collaborative call with CQDM can be found on our program website. Lastly, another key factor to our review criteria is our open science policy, which I will talk a little bit more about in the next slide. So as I mentioned, Conscience is committed to a collaborative open science policy for the projects we fund. This means that we rely on the FAIR principle. So the work we fund should be findable, accessible, interoperable, and reusable. What we expect is that the project molecule, project data, and any methods and materials created specifically for this project using Conscience's funds must be shared publicly at least by the end of the funding period. I would encourage you all to review our open science policy, which is available on our webpage. And if you have any doubts or any questions, please book a call with us. Feel free to reach out. We are here to support you and help you with this. In fact, we will collaborate with applicants to implement this policy, be it finding an appropriate repository or coming up with a plan for sharing and timeline. Lastly, I would just like to take a minute to again talk about why we adopted an open science policy. And this is mainly because we are narrowing in areas of market failure, which itself has inherent bigger challenges. There are very, very limited number of studies, and we at Conscience believe collaborative solutions have the potential to make a change. Also, open science could lead to accelerated research because there are no patents. Therefore, there is less friction and more efficiency. And with that, I would like to, this is the end of our presentation. Thank you very much for your attention. And I would again like to thank you all for joining us today. And I would now open the floor for questions. Please feel free to type them in the chat or use the raised hand feature if you prefer to ask them verbally. Thank you.
While people are limbering up their fingers to ask questions in the chat or by raising their hand, which looks like this, if you want to do it, you can, I've got a couple of just quick preliminaries that I think might be useful for people to think about. So maybe someone has a molecular project they want to develop, but they're not familiar with the idea of data sharing, for example, where to do it, how to do it, what are the standards? Can we give them support at Conscience?
Yes, I think that Resham highlighted, we do have expert in those kind of thing, and this is part of our mission to help you educate about how open science can be done. So definitely, if you are willing, we can work with you. It's not that complicated, and it will be our pleasure to show you how and where this can be done.
Perfect. I see Ruby Lynn's hand just before she raised her. I see it. Let's invite her to the big screen with us so that she can ask her question. And then we'll get to Peter Sampson's question in the chat just after. Thank you, Ruby.
Oh, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Oh, thanks for holding this info session. It was helpful. I just have two questions. I think, Resham, you mentioned you'll award 2 projects funding per grouping of trill level, like you have 3 group tiers of trill levels. Did you say you'll award 2 projects per tier?
I think it depends on the projects we received. So I won't say that we have a definite number of projects that we will fund per TRL. So I would suggest that you just apply and then we can go from there.
Understood. I misheard you. Thank you for clarifying. And my second question is, for each kind of tier, you have a different amount of funding. I think like tier 1 is like 165K, and then tier 3 is 1 million. Is that like the maximum per project or the maximum for all projects in that tier? So you'll like split up the 165 among however many projects are awarded.
It's per project.
Oh, understood. Oh, thanks very much.
Thank you very much, Ruby. There are some questions from Peter Sampson in the chat. I can just give them to you right now. So first, is a Canadian SME required, or can a foreign SME be a collaborator?
So a foreign SME can be a collaborator. So in the collaboration, it could be a mix of academic, SME, Canadian, or an outside Canada. But our funding must go to a Canadian SME. So they can contribute on the matching fund. They can be part of the collaboration, but cannot receive Conscience funding.
He's got a couple more as well. So another is, are other federal funds eligible or ineligible for matching? CRF ref.
Yes. So in terms of the matching fund, it depends if it's to match the fund for an academic institution or an SME. For SME, so for academic institution, other governmental funding is allowed. For SME, there is a minimum of 25% private fund that is required. The rest can be from governmental source. And do all matching fund needs to be available at the time of the award? We required a proof of the matching fund, as Resham mentioned. Could be any form, doesn't need to be available for the submission, but it needs to be secured.
Perfect.
Does that
And
answer the
then
question?
Ryan has provided a little bit of extra context in the chat if you want to look at it about the total amount in this funding call. It's a $5 million funding allocation. Okay, well, other people are formulating more questions. I've got, what if people are unsure that their disease is in an area of market failure? How would they go about determining that with you?
Yes, as I said, it's not a clear cut between failure and non-failure. There is also a lot of disease that have some effort ongoing. Maybe when the scientific challenges are really high, there is no competition that solve that. So maybe collaboration can solve it. So if you are unsure, again, I will encourage you to put in a letter of intent or reach out to us. It's not easy to make a list of disease that are in and disease that are out. There is so many, and we are working in the rare disease. But I would say that if you doubt, it's a good thing, I guess. If you doubt, it's because it's not a clear disease that tons of pharma are already looking at. So I think it would be good for you to verify that, and we will evaluate as a package deal. A research program has many components. Of course, it has to be in scope, but also we're looking at how advanced are you, what are the success rate or the probability at least to be successful. So we will look at each individually. So we cannot really make a list or say a yes and no. So probably we will tell you if there is no chance your disease will fit in. Of course, we will not make you work in the application for no reason, but we might say, it depends where you are at. It depends of the full package. And in that case, we will tell you to apply, and there is some chance that it works. But it's really also with our review committee that we will have. But I think that the first would be to contact us with that disease. If it's easy to answer yes or no, we will. And if it's in between, we will see with your full application.
Excellent. I did see a raised hand, but it is no longer raised. So let's go back to the chat. We've got a question from Aaron Kapar. Is the concept that a novel drug candidate would not be patentable by any party ever? If not, who ultimately owns the IP?
So in our policy, we want to work openly. So of course, that means no patent. So there is a case where if you already do have a patent, maybe I will elaborate a little bit more than the specific question, but if you have a patent, you can still apply, and if you're and we will work with you to make the transition to open. For the particular question, by putting everything in the open, of course, you set precedent, prior art, that you have done this work. So it's a way of protection in a way. If in the public domain, this group has shown this molecule to work in that model, this of course cannot be patent by competition. So it's a way of protection. Again, in our policy, you will see that we are really restrictive about patent, but not necessarily any type of IP. So IP is still possible according to our principle. There is other IP means, such as regulatory exclusivities, that are allowed in that model. So I think that your question is is a little bit in between. Patent, no. Other forms of IP, yes. So this is a type of example that I will invite you to reach out, and maybe we can sit down with our expert and maybe go in more details about what really you would like to do, where you are in your strategy, and how we can help you.
Excellent. We've got another question from Peter Sampson in the chat. Can spending be eligible outside of Canada if either one, work cannot be done in Canada, or two, the cost is substantially lower offshore?
That's a good question. It's a type of question that I don't want to answer wrongly, so I will take my I will tell you that we will have to verify that the expenses usually should be done inside Canada, but I think that there is some subtleties that I just want to be not to be wrong, and I will check and get back to you, Peter.
Perfect. Thank you very much. I have one more that I think may touch on some of the answers you've provided already, but I want to give people a chance to be able to answer enter any more questions they might have in the chat or raise their hand. If someone has a question about the implications of the open science policy on IP that they already own or IP that might be generated over the course of the project, who should they contact?
They should just reach out. Sorry, and continue.
No, I was just about not to tell your name, but contact Resham for any question about the applications.
And I have just put Resham's email into the chat, so that should make it very easy for everybody to be able to contact it. I'm going to give folks another minute or two to be able to enter any questions that they would like into the chat or to raise their hand. I know I saw one before. If not, then I will bring it to a close, but I'm just going to give all of you folks another minute or two.
I was trying to raise the hand, but I don't think it popped up.
Oh, well,
Is it-
that is okay. Please go ahead.
Yeah, I think it might just be easier if I ask this question rather than try to type it out, because it's a little it might be a little bit confusing. But I'm wondering how, if you have a consortium of collaborators, does each collaborator need to have their own matching funds for that to be matched, or can that come from the entire, I guess, pot of money? If you kind of understand where I'm heading with this, if we have a collaborator that might be doing a large amount of work but actually doesn't have a significant matching amount, but one of the SMEs has that amount that would be, within that total amount, can that be used, or is it only what that collaborator can bring in on their own?
Yeah, I understand the complexity of that. In the way the agreements are set up, it's per participant.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it goes with the spirit that the matching fund is total. There's
Okay.
totally a way to make this work, but this is again something we should discuss with your own specific collaboration type and where the money come from. So I think it's really a complex question to be taken here.
Right.
Let's follow up and we will see how to make it work.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you, Peter. We've got another question from Aaron in the chat, and then one following that from Laurent. So Aaron's question is, I understand the value behind what you're doing for patients, but what is your value proposition to an SME who relies on patents and IP to exist? in the current marketplace?
Yeah, this is a hard spot because we want to create something completely new in a system that, yeah, for some part works the way it works. I think I will go back to what Ryan said at the beginning. It might not suit everyone right now. We hope in the future to make this path more accessible and accepted by all. I would say one thing on one point, we are not close to all IPs patent. I do know that patent for VCs are a really important component. So it might not be the right fit. It's to you to see if it can work, it can be changed with your current model or not. We hope that for some it helps because it brings the money where there is maybe no other investment. Or maybe there is the case in between where we can provide the additional funding and still VCs or other source may see the benefit, may see the possibility to use other type of IP to protect the market, but maybe at a later stage of development.
Okay, moving on to the question from Laurent. Is there any specific time frame to complete the tasks? What type of tasks would be eligible? For example, R&D, manufacturing?
Yeah, so we do operate in the preclinical from TRL 2 to 6. So it will be the R&D for sure, any preclinical work that leads to the IND. Complete a time frame. The funding is 2 years right now. We do plan to have another call in 2 years. We are open to an extension. Maybe so we are talking about this time frame. Of course, when we review the application, you have a timeline to provide, and we will see with you what's feasible in that time frame. If you do have additional objective, would they be part of another call or this one? And about the open, I don't know if the task is scientifically project or can talk about the open science, but we do require all the data at the end, at least at the end of the project. So at the end of this 2 years funding period.
Okay, we've got another question from Peter here. When will applicants be invited post LOI, and when will the full application details be available, templates, etc.?
Yeah, I can take it. So the deadline for LOI submission, as I mentioned, is September 27th. And once you submit, we will reach out to you within 2 weeks, latest by October 11th, to tell you if your application is selected. And if it is, then when you log into the same link, you'll be provided all the instructions on how to do it. But when you log into the same link, you will see the full proposal application. It will automatically move to the second stage once approved. I hope that answers your question, Peter.
Ruby is back with another question, asking if there's any kind of matchmaking service for academic applicants who are looking for SME contributors. I think perhaps
we're working on that. I think that the network, well, Dylan is working really heavily on it. It's not ready to use yet. We don't have a full website network where you can pick and choose who can do that. But since we are in discussion with so many groups, SMEs, right now, we're really reaching out and knowing more in the field. It's a good idea to put in your LOI or ask us what your needs would be, and we will try to find you a collaborator if this is what you miss.
Took the words out of my mouth, Anne. That's exactly what I was going to say. All right, we're getting lots of thanks in the chat. thanks from Ruby, thanks from Peter, thanks from Laurent. I'm going to give folks another 30 seconds to ask another question if they have it, and if not, then we will bid you adieu.
And Dylan, you're muted.
I'll be able to cut that out of the recording. Yes, it looks like everybody has the answers that they need, in which case I want to thank everyone very much for attending our information session today. I want to thank ICED Canada and our partners in pharma, as well as academia and nonprofit for their support. The session recording will be shared shortly on the Conscience website in case you want to refer to it. We're also going to work up a post answering all of these questions in greater detail, and we'll make sure to share that with everybody who registered. You can access the link to apply by navigating to our website and going to the DMOS programs, or simply clicking the link I just put in the chat. If you have any questions, please reach out to Resham. She would be very happy to either answer them directly or connect you to the right person. And finally, if you want to keep up to date with what Conscience is up to, the easiest way to do that is going to conscience.ca, clicking the big red Join the Network button, and entering your email. That will make sure you get all of our announcements, as well as our newsletter, and be able to stay up to date with all of the developments over here at Conscience. Finally, thank you, Anne. Thank you, Resham. Thank you, Ryan. And thank you, everybody, for attending. We look forward to working with you.